everybody, it's Gabe from Light Designs, and I got a really quick and easy one for you today. Today I'm going to teach you one of my favorite cloud chasing builds. Now, if you're not familiar with the term of cloud chasing, in vaping, there's flavor chasers and then there's cloud chasers. So if you're a flavor chaser, you're not concerned with the vapor production, you're more concerned with the flavor. Now, cloud chasing is you're more concerned with making giant vape clouds and standing back to back and like bending over and like creating a weather system. What's the name of a good cloud?
Nimbus.
A nimbus cloud. Wait, does that have a lot of
That's a good question.
How big is a nimbus cloud? Or what is the biggest cloud? Cumulus is very tall and large cloud. Okay, so essentially, here's a build that you'll get good vapor production on, and you can become a meteorologist. After you build this coil, the Weather Channel will hire you. I guarantee it.
You guarantee it.
One of the main factors in actual cloud chasing builds is your airflow. So the more air you have, the less flavor you have, but the more vapor production you will have. So things like the Temple RDA or the Phenotype or the Sleeper RDA, those all have giant amounts of airflow. So you're gonna get these giant clouds. Even the Twisted Messes stuff. The Twisted Messes version 1 is like my favorite cloud chasing RDA, and these RDAs, a lot of the times they're known as competition RDAs or comp RDAs because you bring them to a cloud comp. I have the most ridiculous RDA in the entire world right now. I have the Nuke RDA, and this is something I've wanted. The Nuke RDA came out around the time that I first started vaping, and I've always wanted one. They're so goofy. It has like turbo fans in it, and it is just, it's so goofy. And I just realized I got really excited and I opened the box and completely ruined the whole up close portion. But for the sake of video, let's go up close now and we'll do a build afterwards. We got a piano today. You can't see it, it's off camera. We got a piano. This is the Nuke RDA. On a contrary to popular belief, it is not powered by uranium. It is it comes in a box. And it's got
Oh.
Yeah, watch
Wow.
Yeah,
watch out with the facts.
It comes in a box and it's got a little window in it so it doesn't get lonely on the shelf. So let's open this up. And let's set the actual RDA aside and check out what we got for goodies in the box. Inside of the box you have some silica. Anybody remember vaping with silica? New vapors, we used to use silica before we used cotton, and it is this really if you ever get the opportunity to vape on silica instead of cotton for your wicks, just don't. Opt out of it. Just don't do it. Also in the package is some microscopic gauge of wire. This looks like, if I had to ballpark it, it almost looks like a 30 gauge. Hold on, I have 30 gauge right here. That's about, yeah, that's like alright, so it comes with a little baggie with 30 gauge wire in it. I'm not really sure what you're gonna do with that. And you have a package of a super rare, limited edition, never seen before blue screwdriver, some O-rings, and a bunch of screws, and then there's like a bunch of screws in the bottom of this package. Okay, all right, first off, this is like the heaviest RDA I think I own. I think this is heavier than my 30mm Temple. It is a stainless steel, weird tornado ball shape of an RDA. On the bottom it says the Nuke RDA with a serial number, and it has a 510 pin right there. And then there is a copper 510 pin that protrudes pretty far. I would feel confident putting this on a hybrid. So, okay, alright, I thought that was all one piece. Okay, so apparently this is not all one piece, and there is a little turbo fan right here inside of the Nuke. So you see down in there, there's a little turbo fan right on the top, and there's turbo fans on the side. This thing's crazy. It's so much wind. Off the top, those are really decent O-rings. And inside, I mean, that is so thick. That is so unnecessarily thick.
THICC?
It's THICC with one of these emojis next to it.
Damn, son. Oh yeah!
Damn, son.
All right, so on the side there are these little fans that have propellers in them, and I thought it was loose, so I was trying to take it out all the way, but I just disassembled the little propeller fan, so I'm trying to put it back together. I mean, this thing's really weird, but it's so interesting. At the time this RDA came out, everybody had 22 millimeters, and 22 millimeter was the standard. So I get why it's a 22 millimeter deck, but in today's here and now vaping, look at how much space they just wasted. If they made this really thin, like the modern goon barrels, you could have fit such a big deck in there, and then you could have thrown massive, massive coils in there, and this would be like a really sick RDA. So if you look at the deck, it is a standard old school 4-post deck. You got your positive in the center, there's a peak insulator down here in the juice well, and you got outside negatives. I mean, that's something you see in the Plume Veil, it's something you see in the Doge. I mean, it's an old school deck. I mean, it's I believe this came out before the Velocities. I might be wrong, but these 4-post and 3-post decks were kind of the standard before the Velocity and before the Goon and like the Twisted Messes squared type decks and stuff like that. For some reason, mine came with all of the post hole screws just floating around in the box. I don't really know why, but yeah. So that, I mean, that's about it. It's huge, it's heavy, it's goofy looking. I'm not sure on what the performance is going to be like, because there are 3 turbo fans on this, one on each side and one in the centerpiece right here. So I can guarantee that flavor isn't going to be very good, but vapor production should be just ridiculous. You should be a meteorologist by the end of this video. Which brings us to our next point. Let's make some meteorologist-worthy coils. If you're a meteorologist, write in the comments below. So you're sitting there watching, and you're like, hey Gabe, that's a pretty crazy RDA you got there, pal. Well, how do I get such thick vapor clouds? 100, fam.
Damn, son.
Well, since we have the world's most ridiculous RDA, we need a ridiculous box to put it on. Can you hand me the ABS box? Nope. More ridiculous.
This one?
A little bit more. There you go.
I was gonna say that. That's the one.
That's THICC.
THICC.
Damn.
So I think I'm gonna pull out the triple 18650 ABS box for this because why not? All joking aside, this is actually my favorite cloud chasing build. I have some 20 gauge nichrome right here. Now before I go any further than that, be careful with this build. A lot of the times with cloud chasing builds, it's going to be on the lower ohm side because you use a heavier gauge of wire and you use less of it, so there's less ramp up. So when you're standing back to back with your buddy and you bend over and then you breathe in all your vapor and shoot your large vape clouds, there's not a lot of ramp up. Please just make sure you're being careful with your ohms, know Ohm's law, know the amp drain of your battery, and please be careful with your equipment. I wouldn't say this is necessarily an advanced build because it's not very labor intensive, but this is a knowledgeable build. So if this is like your first time building, please don't go on eBay and go buy some 20 gauge wire, okay? Just know a little bit what you're doing before you mess around with 20 gauge or 18 gauge or anything like that. So what we're going to be doing is taking a little bit of 20 gauge wire. I have 20 gauge nichrome, which does ohm out lower than Canthal. If you're like, this is my first time doing a cloud chasing build, maybe go Canthal. Alright, and always buy good batteries from trusted brands like Sony, Samsung, LG, like brands that you would recognize, brands that make TVs and phones, buy their batteries. So I'm going to take about 6 to 8 inches of 20 gauge nichrome. You don't really need a lot for this. What I'm going to do is grab my drill and bend an L into it, and I'm going to straighten it out. Now, a lot of the times these cloud chasey guys just use normal 20 gauge round wire, right? And then they just do a 5 or 6 or 7 wrap of that, depending on what their setup is. But I've noticed that you get a lot of spit back with that because the wire has a huge amount of surface area. So what you're gonna do with the drill here is just give it a nice little straighten. just like that, straightens right out, and then it's a lot easier to work with. Technically for this build, you probably don't need a coil jig, but you know, if you have it, it's always a little bit nicer. It's always lends a helping hand. So with our wire on the coil jig, we're going to be grabbing some 36 gauge. You could use 40 gauge, and you could probably use 34 gauge. You want a smaller gauge of wire for this, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be spaced out Claptoning this. We're using a higher gauge of wire, and what that's going to do is catch some of these vapors that pop, so when you're taking these big hits, you don't have a bunch of spit back or coil popping juice into your mouth and you don't burn your mouth. And I've found that with the 20 gauge, like I said before, it gets a little bit poppy, it gets a little bit spitty. And this will help kind of combat that without changing the performance of the coils. So if I went with something like a 30 gauge wrapped around this, or like if I clapped in the whole thing like a normal fused Clapton, it would affect the performance of the coils, because it would be like, wow, there's more wire and there'd be a slightly more ramp up. But with a spaced out Clapton of a very high gauge of wire, it's not much stress on the coils. Like, it might change it like 0.00005%, like it would be unnoticeable to the average vapor. So what I'm gonna do is just attach it normal, nothing major, no surprise here. I'm just gonna give it a nice little spaced out Clapton. I hold my wire at a diagonal angle right here, so my wire's like this, it's over here diagonal, and this does not have to be perfect. So I spaced out Clapton this, and I'll show you guys a close-up in just a second when we do the build laps. But one thing to keep in mind if you're going to do this build is 20 gauge can get a little bit slippery in the chuck of your drill, just because it is such a thick wire. It kind of offsets the teeth of your drill a little bit. So yeah, that's all there is to it. It's just spaced out Clapton, and if you don't know how to space out Clapton, it is very simple. All you do is normal Clapton it, and if you make a mistake, if it gets a little bit too spaced out, you just grab each side of the Clapton and you push it together and line it up like and you'll notice that your Clapton goes together like this, and now it's lined up perfectly, as if you sat there and did it meticulously. Then you gently pull it apart, just like this. You run your fingers down it, and it will be perfectly spaced out. You'll probably have some overhang little spring guy on the end. Making Claptons isn't something that you really need to be afraid of. Once you understand that all you're essentially doing is making a spring around another piece of wire, it becomes a lot easier. At least when I first started to learn how to build, it was easier for me. So at this point, you can either coil it up from here, or you can flatten it out. Now there's pros and cons to that. So if you decide to flatten it, you'll regain a little bit of that flavor that's probably going to be lost from the ridiculous unnecessary amount of airflow. And why that is because you have more surface area for the juice to turn into vapors upon. So you might get a little bit better flavor, but I think that will mess with your ohms a little bit, because think of it like a tube or a garden hose. So you have a garden hose and you're sending all your water through the garden hose, but then if you're stepping on it, the water takes a little bit more force to get through. So essentially your wire is the hose, the electricity is going through it just like it would, and then somebody drives across it or steps on it. It takes a little bit more effort for the water to come out or the electricity to go through it. So at that point, it's like, oh, well, I want to try to do a cloud chasing build, but it's just for pleasure, and I want to learn how to do it. Then I'd recommend flattening it, and flattened wire looks really cool. But if you are actively going into a cloud comp, I wouldn't recommend flattening it, because it might change your ohms like this much, and cloud chasing people are nuts about that. major aspect in the kind of cloud chasing culture is cloud chasing juice. Now, cloud chasing juice most of the time is max VG, and it's 80-20 and up. 80% VG and 20% PG. And the more VG you have, the heavier the juice is, the more weighty and dense your cloud will be. So we are going to be trying a flavor here today from the Families line. Now the Families line is all max VG, and I think it is a 85-15. I know it's pretty high up on the VG side. I mean, it's max VG, but I think the actual ratio is an 85-15. I might be wrong on that. But I grabbed just a random flavor off of the shelf. This one is pink lemonade, and I've never had it before. And I love a good lemonade vape. With Max VG juice, if you've never had it before, if you're a new vapor, you're probably vaping 50-50 or 60-40 or maybe even 70-30. A lot of the kind of household name brands of juice are 70-30s. But Max VG juice, you'll notice that it's a lot heavier and it has a little bit different of a flavor to it. It's not less flavorful, but the flavors taste a little bit more rounded out. And with higher PG based juice, you can feel it more in your throat, and it's more of a abrupt kind of in your face flavor. And Max VG juices are a little bit softer. Here's a helpful tip if you ever over drip and you don't want your juice to run down on anything. Take your top cap off and turn it upside down, and then just gently fire your mod a little bit, and it will drip out all the liquid, because the excess liquid will get hot and it will drip out kind of like water. Pro tip. So the Families line, we did a part 1 juice tasting of their stuff. We did pear and berry, and we did Misty. Now Casey's vaping on Misty right now. What do you think of it?
I really like it.
He likes it a lot.
Big fan.
And the Families is a local juice company to where we are. They're in like every local shop that you go into. You can't not see the Family stuff or the Mom stuff. The pear and berry flavor, I love that. It's so good. Did you hear it? Did you hear it?
It went.
The Nuke RDA. Hold on, I need to do this near the microphone. I'm sorry. Wow. Alright. It sounds like a kazoo. Okay, alright, this is a super serious vape video. Oh my gosh. My eyes are like watering. The juice, from what I can taste on this build, oh, I can't drip through the top cap because there's that fan there. So the vapor production on this build and on this juice is just ridiculous. Look at that. Who needs that much? Kazoo Kid, this one's for you. I like to sing, dance. That's nuts. This juice is good. I've had pink lemonades before. I've had pink lemonade from Budget Vapors, which is really good. It's okay. I can't really taste it as much as I would like to taste it because I have way too much airflow. But from what I can taste, I mean, it tastes like a pink lemonade. I can't really give you any finite notes other than it tastes like a pink lemonade and that it's max VG and it's good and it's locally made. Do I like it more than Pinky's Promise from Budget Vapors? That I can't tell you really because I can't taste it to its full potential, so we're gonna have to revisit this juice. But if you're interested in getting some of the Family's e-liquid, you can send them a message on their Facebook page. I'll put it over there in the description if you are on Facebook. If you are on YouTube, it'll be down there in the down there bar. And I believe it is $10 for a 30 mil and $15 for a 60 mil, I believe off the top of my head. But I just this is the perfect build and the perfect setup and the perfect juice for today. Like, I just got a new stand-up piano, like a actual piano, not like a synthesized piano. It's wood and it's right there. And I got in the studio and I'm all like hyped up and it's a beautiful day outside. I got my best friend and we're goofing off. And so this is just like the perfect setup with some not too serious, not too heavy juice. And it's a good time. Sitting down Cloud Con.
I really like Misty.
Yeah?
Big fan.
Is that your favorite from them that you've tried?
Yeah. It's like I'm eating one of those Italian ices that are blueberry.
I don't know exactly what Misty is, but I could see that.
It makes me, and that's my favorite one. So,
yeah.
I don't know, if you like those, you probably like this.
In case he's a novice vapor, like he just started vaping recently, like vaping.
Yeah, I'm no good at this.
And so, I mean, as a new vapor, to really enjoy a Max VG flavor, that says a lot about their brand, you know? Because normally, new vapors gravitate to something with more of a throat hit because they come from smoking. How long have you been cigarette free now?
Oh, 3 weeks. I don't know. Like I didn't count. I'm gonna say probably 3 weeks.
That's pretty cool though.
If not more. I didn't actually use the vape to quit. I just kind of did it because I was sick of the fact that it hurt.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, waking up with dry mouth and just disgusting cigarette, like why am I doing this?
Yeah.
So I just kind of suffered it and went for it, but whenever I do feel the need that I should or want to smoke, not should, but when I want to, I tend to gravitate more towards the vape. And I mean, no nicotine, so I can just do it and get the feeling of it and feel good about it. So
that's awesome.
I got my own vape in the mail. It's in Singapore.
It's in Singapore.
Singapore.
So the family's line, $10 for a 30 mil, $15 for a 60, I believe, off of the top of my head. Their information will be over there. Casey likes Misty. I like pear and berry. I think Kat likes pear and berry as well. This pink lemonade is good. 20 gauge build Nuke RDA. It's a beautiful day outside. I don't know. I'm gonna go play outside. For more of me, feel free to subscribe over at the YouTube channel. Follow me on Instagram at @TheRealGabeSmith. And for booking information, booking me to come perform at your event or do an art show or book me for some film work, feel free to send a message at popculturerecords@gmail.com. And I think the next juice tasting episode that Kat and I are going to do is going to be a Q&A style video. So if you want to ask me or Kat questions, or if you want a shout out, feel free to leave it below. That is just so ridiculous.
Goodbye. Look at my new tag.
Me.